the two most famous, so to say, philosophers of science. You have some very interesting other developments like symbolic interactionism. A guy I really appreciate is John Dewey. Some will call him Dewey. The Americans call him John Dewey. So if you ever hear about Dewey, it's Dewey. That's okay. He's a philosopher, a pedagogue, and he's very opposed to logical positivism. He's very much into learning a constructivist view of science clearly, right? He's a pragmatic. He says everything is right what is useful. So whenever you make something, if you make a car and a car comes out and it does what it should do, then it's right since it does what you intended it to do. So the proof of the fact whether something is true and scientific is that it is usable, that it does what you expected it to do. And he of course says, as most other people, that there is no value of free science. Of course, there's a very active role of the observer. Then I already mentioned Feyerabend. He sort of breaks with the classical philosophy of science. He says the only thing that goes is that everything goes, everything is right, and whatever experiment you can do outside a normal frame, you have to do that, since that's how things progress. You'll never find progress within the existing frame. Most people will label that as a postmodern view. And then, as I said, you have the theories of Maturana, Varela, Mingers, etc., that are based on autopoietic systems concepts. So any neurobiological system, everything where people or animal or nature is involved, it's a neurobiological concept, will behave autopoietically, which means it will reproduce itself in order to survive. It will self-organize. It's an auto-organization system, and it has only one purpose, which is survival. So the body reproduces itself for 90% in 3 months' time in order to survive, and only in order to survive. The body is completely self-organized. You don't have to bother about that. And the only motivation of the body is survival. If you cut your arm, the body will do everything to make you survive, if at least it is still possible. Now, the philosophical implications of autopoiesis, the most important one is that beliefs and theories are purely human constructs which construct rather than reflect reality. So the huge consequence of autopoiesis is there is no reality, right? It is just a constitution, it's a creation, it's a construction. It is not a reflection. It's not that reality is out there and it's enough to observe that, and that's how you find reality and truth. Now, you'll find these two schools, and I'm at the Transparency, which I've labeled Taylor's view on the brain. There are basically two schools of thought about thinking. The one is the classical one, reductionist, rational one, that says our brain works with symbols. So if our brain works with symbols, which it does not, then you can represent the world in symbols and in models. The other school, which is a constructivist one, is if you would like to understand how intelligence works, you have to model the brain. The brain is nothing more than a very, very dense interaction of a few billion of neurons, and each neuron is interacting with roughly 100 neighboring neurons. And it is that interaction of each individually very low intelligently elements that nevertheless in its dense continuous interaction creates the intelligence that we know. In the two different schools you define intelligence different. In the symbolic school, intelligence is the capacity for problem solving. In the other school it's the capacity to learn, etc. So unfortunately we've built computers according, well, not unfortunately, we've built computers according to the left-hand school. That's fine, but we've also thought that people work like computers, and that's a big mistake since people don't. So what we're now doing is we ask people to think according to the left column, which they're unable to do, and we build computers, artificial intelligence, according to the right column, which computers can't do. So if you would ask computers to do the left column and people the right column, we would really progress. And that is the overview of the very first part, which is a very, very, very rapid idea on philosophy of science in the context within which you can start thinking about a new paradigm.